And this is the story where Jesus was in Capernaum and he was speaking to a group of people, and there was so many people. Yes, and then there was this guy and he was paralyzed, and his friends brought him up the roof, and they made a hole because they couldn't go through the crowd, and then they lowered their friend down, and Jesus says, your sins are forgiven. And the religious leader said, this is blasphemy. Only God can forgive sins. And then this is what happens. Immediately Jesus knew in his heart, I'm reading it now, Jesus knew in his heart that this was what they were thinking in their hearts. And he said to them, why are you thinking these things? Which is easier, to say to this paralyzed man, your sins are forgiven, or to say, get up, take your mat, and walk? But I want you to know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins. So he said to the man, I tell you, get up, take your mat, and go home. He got up, took his mat, and walked out in full view of them. My dear friends, are you paralyzed right now? Paralyzed in some way, whether it be in a relationship and you've been stuck in this not so good relationship, in a pathological relationship, in a destructive relationship. You're stuck, you can't move. What if you are also stuck in a bad habit, a bad pattern, mental pattern or physical pattern, that you want to get out but you're stuck? What if you're stuck in a financial problem that keeps rearing its ugly head, and it's been doing it for years? You're buried in debt, you don't know what to do. Right now, if you're stuck, if you're paralyzed, this message is for you. Jesus is telling you right now to rise, to get up. That's number one. Get up. I'll tell you why. Many times, our suffering can be our slavery, and it can also be our safety. Now, what in the world do I mean? I have talked to a lot of women, wives, who are trapped in abusive relationships. Their husband is abusive, and they stay in that relationship. Let me tell you why. Because the mat this is the symbolism now. The mat has become comfortable. The pain has become predictable. It's all almost like this, Yes, it's painful to be abused physically or verbally or emotionally, and it happens every day. But what happens is they become comfortable. It's become a comfort zone because it's predictable, and they don't want to get out of that destructive, abusive relationship, because what's going to happen there? Uncertainty is scary and dangerous. Now, I was talking to a guy, and he was complaining about his job, and he said, I'm underpaid, I'm underappreciated, and I hate my job. I'm just so unhappy in my job. And I said, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. How long have you been in your job? And I was expecting, like 5 months, 6 months, 7 months. And he said, 13 years. You just, wait. So you really not liked your job recently only, right? And I said, no, I hated it from day one. I said, what? then why in the world did you stay in a job that you didn't like, in a work situation that you didn't like? Why not? Why did you leave after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, Why did it go through 13 years again? Here's the thing, because if he leaves his job, it's uncertain. And uncertainty is terrifying for a lot of people. So Jesus tells you now, rise, get up from your mat. It's a comfort zone for you. Sometimes suffering can be a comfort zone. Why is it that there are many single people who are trapped in relationships that are dead end, with partners that have no... There was this young woman who came up to me and said that. She said, Brother Bo, my boyfriend and I, we've been together for 7 years. 7 years. And it seems that he has no plans for me. None. And I don't know what to do. And I asked a very sensitive question, and it's not as direct as this, but I kind of like, basically I asked her, do you go to bed together? And she looked down and she nodded, and I said, one of the reasons is this. The reason why he's taking his time and he has no plans and he's not in a hurry is because even if he's not yet married to you, he's enjoying the benefits of marriage. And so this is what you do. And I told her, you've got to talk to him and you've got to tell him, Brother Bo says, here's my name, Brother Bo says, you cannot touch my body anymore until you bring me to the altar. The only thing you can do to my body is to put a ring on my finger. And I said, listen to me, there are no guarantees that he's going to pursue you. But if he really loves you, then he's going to start having plans and start getting in a hurry. Because it's really saying, look, if you're not interested in me, if you don't have any plans for me, I'm out of here. But again, it's so difficult to do that, because no matter how painful it is, if it's a predictable pain, it becomes a home. And that is why Jesus says, rise up from your mat. Rise up from your slavery. Rise up from that pain. Rise up from that suffering. It's over. I want you. Jesus is saying, I want you to have life. I want you to have healing. I want you to have real joy. The resurrection of Jesus is a promise to you that Good Friday is just a passing phase. Your storm, your trial, it will end. And he says, your Easter is coming. Your Easter is coming. And the second thing that Jesus wants you to do is to take your mat. I'll say that again. You've got to take your mat. He said, get up, rise, take your mat. Now think about it. Why take your mat? He's not going to use it anymore. He's not paralyzed anymore. But we need to take our mat because many times your mat becomes your ministry. What am I talking about? I'm talking about, why did God allow you to go through that financial problem? Why did God allow you to go through that debt? So that when you get out of your debt, you can now turn around and help other people who are going through the same problem, and you're going to teach them, and you're going to inspire them how to get out of their debt, because you're going to tell them the message is this. And your mat is your ministry, but it's also not just your ministry, but it's also your message. You can tell them, if I was able to do it, you can do it too. If I was able to rise up, you can rise up as well. Why did you have to go through that abusive relationship? So that you can, when you get out of that abusive relationship, you can turn around and you can tell people, this is what happened to me. God healed me. God changed me. I rose up, and that's something that you can do as well. I believe that if you're able to share, and this is important, when you're able to show to people your wounds, My friends, your scars, they're going to heal people. God's going to use you to heal people through your wounds and through your scars and through the times when you were depressed, through the times when you had an anxiety problem, through the times when you had a relationship, family difficulty. You're going to pass through that, and then you're going to start healing people. Take your mat. And I remember my wife. My wife had 3 miscarriages, and all of them were painful. All of them were deeply, profoundly painful. And every time it happened, for about 6 months, she was just in despair, and she would cry. But because of what she went through, she now has the capacity to feel the pain of every mother that loses their child. And she can go out there and comfort people with the same comfort that she experienced from God years ago. This is the reason why when Jesus says, rise, you rise, but when you rise, you take your mat, so that you can remain grateful and gracious. You see, the mat, when you remember your past, when you remember that this is when you come, you will never be proud. Let's say you fell into sin, and you've had these bad habits, and God removed you from them, and God delivered you from them. You know what? You will never be proud. If you always remember where you came from. So bring your mat. You will always, I was addicted to porn years ago, and God rescued me. And I can never be proud, that, hey, I'm a self-made man and I'm a holy person. I can't say that as long as I remember where I came from and how God rescued me from the garbage that I came from. And I will not only be grateful, I will be gracious. I will be merciful to the people around me. And finally, Jesus says, walk. Get up, rise, take your mat, and walk. You've got to keep on walking. I'll tell you why. In the book of Psalms, chapter 23, it says, yea, though I walk through the valley of death, of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. And I speak God's word for you right now. We sometimes find ourselves in the valley of the shadow of death. We find ourselves in a Good Friday. We find ourselves in the midst of our suffering. And that beautiful psalm says, though I walk through the valley. You don't sit in the valley. You don't stay in the valley. You don't sleep in the valley. You don't loiter in the valley. You don't build a tent in the valley. You just walk. You just walk out of it. And so keep walking. Keep walking. Don't stand. Walk. Don't sit. Walk. Don't stay. Walk. And believe that God is going to use you, the wounded healer, to heal the wounds of many, many more people. God bless you. Let's just worship the Lord and thank Him this day. Hallelujah.